Well, welcome everyone again, and thank you so much for coming along for the second session. And I'd like to express my gratitude again to Marco for agreeing to host this workshop, and we're really privileged to have him and his expert guidance to navigate our way through rPlum. And also I'd like to thank Larissa and Kelsey, both of whom are very busy people, and Larissa's on maternity leave and has kindly agreed to organise this meeting, this workshop for us. So today, if I can get my computer to work. So today's program, I'm just going to do a quick acknowledgement of country, and then we'll move on to how we run R scripts. Marco, feel free to change this program if you like, but this is what we had in mind. So I think Marco is going to take us through an example of running a script in rPlum, and then we'll get on to installing it ourselves. We'll do some little breakout rooms just to see how everyone's going and to chat a bit about how you're finding things. We'll have a little discussion then afterwards about that. Depending on how we're going, we'll take a break then, and then we'll do some running some example cores as a group, and we'll try and troubleshoot that as we go along. And then right at the end, we'll discuss the kind of data requirements that we have if you want to run your own dates and your own models. And that's what we'll do in the third session next week, is starting to run our own data and our own models. So just a reminder that the workshop is being recorded, and the videos will appear at the Mercury Australia website. The link's there on the screen, but also in the chat. If you haven't installed R yet, then now is a really good time to do it, and there's the link there. And the shared data files, Larissa's given us two options there, so you can go to the SharePoint or you can go to Dropbox and find them there. And please feel free to ask any questions that you might have at any time during the workshop. So you can post them in the chat, or you can just interrupt and give us let us answer them real time, which is kind of a bit more engaging for everyone. So just before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge and pay my sincere respects to the traditional owners and custodians of the land that's occupied by the Australian National University, and that's the Ngunnawal, Ngambri and Ngarigo peoples. And as we share our knowledge and our research practices today, we might remind ourselves of the deep and living knowledge that's carried from generation to generation by elders past, present and future. And I'd also like to acknowledge and welcome the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are participating in today's workshop. And finally, I invite you to participate wherever you are, to participate in acknowledging country by posting the Indigenous name of the country that you're on today in the chat. And with that, while we're doing that, I'll pass over to Marco. Thanks very much, Marco.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see so many of you again. Yes, as Simon said, the goal of today will be to basically go through an example. You will see me running one of the examples in optimal conditions, and then we'll break into little rooms so everyone can sort of have a go and installing it. Everything that needs to be installed, and then we can just start troubleshooting with everyone, double check if you're installing it correctly, if all the requirements are needed. Sometimes computers do need some requirements. I think for Mac owners, you guys need to download some stuff from the web in order to get DevTools running. So if anyone wants to try to install DevTools into R first, before we get to that part, so we don't have to do that. But other than that, I'll go through the examples now. So let me share my screen. Go. There you go. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna save everything here so I can see everyone. There you go. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so this is an R script that I did for the course. Guys can see that in the share folder. It will look something like this. You will have the presentation, a README file. You don't need to read that. That's for a GitHub page. Presentation tech, which is just the code I used to generate the presentation. And then you guys can get to code. And then you're gonna see an introduction to rPlum.r. That one is this file right here, this one right here. You will see introduction to py. That one is the Python code that we're gonna be running. That one is way easier. I'll show you later. And you'll see data and then an rPlum folder. Okay, so the first thing you guys need to do is take this folder, open that script, and this Plum runs. You will need to put them in your main folder. So for me, that'll be here. You'll see that I have that folder right here. So it's just
Marco, could you go through that again from, because I suspect a few people might have missed some of that. So
yeah, I'll repeat
you've
that.
You've got it in our studio, yeah?
Yeah, this is our studio. You guys
Yep.
can open it regular R. I usually use R Studio because people are more comfortable with R Studio.
Yep.
But yeah, anyway, so this Plum runs folder, you will put it in the same place you put your bacon runs folder. So as you can see, I have bacon runs here and Plum runs here. So you just have to put that folder there. Right now, it just has HP1C. And that's because I'm gonna show you how to create some of the data that we need. So let's go first through the script to the nice examples. So first, let's clean our environment. That's always a good practice. You do that with this command. Now, there's two, what is it called? Two versions of rPlum. But there's an official CRAN version, which you can download here. This one is a bit, it's not recommended yet because it is a hassle to upload all the bug fixing that has to go through making these packages work. So you can install it, as you will see. Well, first, let me remove my rPlum so you guys can. So I have rPlum installed, but I'm going to remove it. Leave things like that then. There you go. I don't even have it installed then. That's good. So there you go. So you guys can just download that, like with that command, just the regular command. But it has a couple of bugs. So I would say not to do that. It's going to take a couple of minutes. There you go. It installed quite fast. So the problem with that is you'll see right here. If I load it, just like that, it will ask me a couple of questions. It will run like that. It will run quite quickly. It's running just like bacon. And if you can see, I didn't have that folder right here, but now it's there, right? And it's running, but there's some couple of problems with the graphs. So Again, I will say not to use this version. So as soon as this finish, it's probably going to break. I'm going to show you how to install the GitHub version, which is the version you guys should be using. Sorry, it takes a couple of minutes. That's the problem with these things.
So Marco, you're saying that if we've previously installed rPlum, that we should actually install the GitHub version, and you're going to show us how to do that, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to show you this because if you see these errors in the graphs or things like that, this one will probably come out right because it's the default core. But anyway.
So Simon and, oh no, that's right.
Marco.
Do we have to uninstall rPlum if we've done, if we've installed rPlum?
Yeah, if you did it previously, it will be recommended to install it. So you will install it with the remove packages command, just like that.
Okay.
Right. As soon as this finish, I'll remove it and then we can go again. This session will be a bit slow because I'm gonna try to do everything live. So you guys kind of have a sense of how long it takes a core to run and all this. Yeah, this one came out all right, but yeah. Anyway, so let's install it. So you guys install it like that. It's installed now. You guys can go to packages here. If you are in RStudio, and you can see there's nothing there. So that's good. So what we're gonna do is actually install DevTools, because DevTools will actually give us a command that will allow us to install things from GitHub. So this is Martin's repository because she's the guardian of rPlum, basically. He fixes the bugs and all of that. So there you go, it's installing. I already had it installed, so there you go. Run. This is the step where many Mac users will need to get some code. Let me look it up. I can give you the name. I forgot the name of it because I do use it. I think it's just Xcode. Probably, give me a second, because you do need, yeah, Xcode. So you need to get something called Xcode for Mac. That one will have a C compiler. If you guys don't have it, just look it up online and install that. I already have installed. That's why it didn't give me any errors. And then you guys can just download Incl, the same from the GitHub repository. There you go. I already have installed, so it's not letting me install it again. And then again, the rBacon, same thing. And then rPlum. So we need these three packages because they're built on top of each other. So rBacon requires Incl and rPlum requires rBacon. Right.
I had a question.
Yes.
If we already have the rBacon, do we have to do the second step to install the Martin Carbon 14 and rBacon?
I think it would be best because that version, the GitHub versions are the latest versions, and Martin fixes bugs in that version first. And our cron, it takes a while to get updated. So this one will keep you the most recent version.
Okay, that means we have to remove the rBacon if we already have.
It probably will tell you if you're in the most recent version. And if not, it will update it for you.
Okay, thanks.
Mine's actually giving an error, so I might have to. People with rBacon might have to uninstall it first. Remove the package. I can put the error in the chat. It says, oh, malformed. I love these errors in R that tell you very little. There it is in the chat, Marco.
That's peculiar. That never happened before.
Has anyone else had that trouble?
Okay, give me a second. I need to. Oh. Okay, this is strange. Give me a second. I will try something. Let me load it here. Maybe something with Studio. Or if that's the same problem. Let's start with. Okay. This is strange. This is the problem with running everything live.
It's all right. I think it's giving people a bit of time to catch up.
That's good.
Especially the Mac users who might have to do some workarounds.
Yeah. Okay, let me stop sharing for a second. I need to see if there's a problem in the Martin's repository. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Simon, I got numerous warnings and several errors just trying to install the DevTools.
Yeah, if you're a Mac user, you probably need the extra package I mentioned.
I'm not a Mac user. I'm not a Mac user.
Do you want to share your screen and we can see the errors?
Sure. Oh, hang on. Where is my screen gone? Here it is. Can you see that?
Yeah. Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Oh, this one. Yep, sure.
I mean the font. Can you make it a little bit bigger?
The font bigger?
Yeah.
That I'm not sure about, sorry, because it's in.
Can you try Control plus sign? Control plus.
Windows? Nope.
Control plus.
Sorry?
Control plus.
No. It's a live R window, so I don't know. It looks pretty big on my screen. So you guys can't see that. You can't.
It's a bit small, but let me check.
It's small because it's actually normal on my screen. So
Yeah, it's because we're sharing it, so it's kind of shrunk by Zoom.
Okay. I would have thought what I can see in Zoom is because I'm looking. Okay. Yep.
Can you try this code instead? Let's try. I think there's a problem with I think I figured out what's the problem. But again, open R, you can share it. I'll show you. Yes, that's the problem. So Martin did something to our bacon. Share your screen. Instead of using DevTools, we're gonna use a package called remotes. So delete the part where it says R DevTools and use remotes.
Do you want me to share my screen again?
Sure, if you want.
Oh, no, you're sharing. Did you say you were going to share your screen? Sorry.
Yeah, okay, sure. Give me a second. There you go. So for people who are having trouble with DevTools, we can use something called like that.
Remotes, okay.
It basically does the same thing. So for people who were having the stat problem, when you install, let me remove it so you guys can see what I did here.
Yeah. So Matthew's just said the error is the same with remote. So that was just with install packages, DevTools, and I was getting all these things about remotes in there in those error warnings. And
okay, did it work with remotes?
Matthew says no.
Okay. Oh, that's okay, let me just show you this. Either with remotes or DevTools. There you go. I need to remove package. Give me a second. There you go. There. So when it's going through the installation, it will ask you if you want to update rBacon. rBacon apparently has a problem. There's a problem in the GitHub repository. So just say no, if you already have rBacon installed. If not, you can install it from cron. Okay,
so rBacon we can just install the normal way we would install a package, yeah?
Yeah,
okay.
For now, his repository must have a problem. So as you can see now, it's working. Let me see. Give me a second. I'll stop sharing my screen for a second there. Let me see if there's another way to install from the GitHub. There must be. Remotes is giving the same thing. Yes.
So I hadn't actually got up to the second part. All of these errors and things are just from the first part, which was install packages, DevTools. So all of these warnings and errors were just from that.
Yeah, but remotes doesn't, you don't need to install anything. So remotes should
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. So do that. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Grief.
But somebody say that was giving them an error again. So okay, so the alternative is to install it by hand, which is also possible. So let me show you how to do that. So what I'll do is show you how. This is a step that we don't usually take because it's already in the repositories. But we're gonna do it so you guys can see this, just for people who are having trouble. Let me share the screen. There you go. So you guys go to Martin's GitHub and you go to rPlum. You're gonna download the code as a zip file. So I'm gonna download that. And now I'm going to, once it's downloaded, I'm gonna go to my terminal. And I'm gonna go to the folder. It is in my downloads folder.
Could you, Marco, could you share the link for the GitHub
Sure.
in the chat, please?
Yeah. can't see the chat. Here you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Welcome. So once you have the code, you're gonna go to your terminal. Either it should work on Windows again. Then you move your prompt to where the zip file is. So it should be here. And what we're gonna do is go rcmd install rPlum. Oh, sorry, we need to open this thing. I forgot. There you go. You can see here rPlum. And there you go. And now it's running. So I'm gonna put this in the this command in the chat. rcmd install rPlum. So you basically just unzip that, rename it to just rPlum, and then just run that command.
Could you go through that again, Marco, from the beginning? So if we're at Martin's GitHub,
You download
rPlum,
that, you're gonna get an rplum/masters.zip file.
so how do we get that?
You go to the GitHub. There you go.
I can't see that file anywhere.
Here, so in code.
We go code, download zip. Okay, yep.
Yep. This is for people who just can't run either remote or DevTools. Okay. Once we're there, we're gonna open that zip file. That's gonna generate us a folder called, oh, where is it? I'm gonna reopen it. There you go. So it's gonna make an rplum-master, rename that to just rplum, and then just run that rcmd install rplum. All right. That should be in a terminal, not here. You probably can use this terminal in your sorry, I forgot the name, in your RStudio. But if you have another terminal, you can use that. Okay, everyone there?
Don't all
Okay,
speak at once.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna continue, and if there's more trouble, we're gonna break up into rooms anyway. All right. So then we just call the library rPlum. It shouldn't give you any errors, right? That's just working now. So to run the first default for and everything, I'm gonna show you Plum runs.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna here. And if you just run this command, it's gonna ask you if you want to use the last 3 data points as estimates for the supported. We'll talk about this. And then it's gonna ask you about the picking sections. You're just gonna say yes. And then it's gonna run. Okay. If you can see, if I go to my Plum runs folder, it generated my default core, which is HP1C. And you can see the data right here. So let's open the data. My LibreOffice, it's not wanting to work with me today. Let's wait a couple seconds. It's gonna take 40 seconds anyway, 45 seconds. See if I can open it with Excel. Someone's working. There you go. So you guys can see. But this is the structure of the data that you're gonna need for Plum. So you're gonna need a column of lab IDs or just IDs for your samples. The depth, this is the lower depth of your sample. This is very important because people sometimes use the middle depth and that just, it's not gonna work. Then the density given in grams over centimeter cube. Then the concentration of lead, the uncertainty of that. Here is very important because sometimes people report uncertainties of 0, which is impossible. So you guys need to check that that's not the case in your data. Thickness is how thick your sample was, either 1 centimeter, just the difference between the top depth and the lower depth. Settings is just basically values that Plum needs. For example, the coring date, how many samples it will use from the bottom. So you guys can see it will use these last 3 data points for the support activity. And 0 just tells Plum that it's going to use a constant supported activity. So now it's plotting. Let's see. It's finishing. Increase figures. So we have, there we go. Oh, it broke. Sorry, that's why I hate ours. Let me run it in just the terminal. It should look the same, just RStudio sometimes does some things like that. It's running again, so fingers crossed it doesn't break again. Are there any questions up to this point? Sorry that my RStudio broke there.
Oh, there's a question in the chat there, Marco, about in the settings, does 2018.5 mean May 2018, or is that?
No, that's if you
is,
see, it's decimal values basically.
So middle of the year.
Exactly, the middle of the year. Yes, he created the rPlums, the Plum runs folder. Yeah, it just basically tells you that you didn't have that folder and it requires that folder. So it will create it for you. It's running. Open this. Oh, there you go. I think have this thing just in case it happens again. RStudio sometimes just does things like that. It's gonna take a minute. Oh. It's running perfect. I think it ran faster than last time.
Oh, wow, it worked for me.
Perfect. There you go. While we wait for this, I'm going to show you something here. So let me see. So you guys can go to data on the folder that you guys downloaded from the share folder, and you're going to find a couple of courses there. If you want, you can just copy those into the Plum runs folder, and I'll show you what is in there just as we go. So there you go. You guys gonna get something like that. We saw this graph on the presentation the last time. So the little shadows represent the simulations that rPlum did. The squares represent the data. You guys can see here there's an outlier, or what appears to be an outlier. Plum represents that as an outlier. You can see the 95% confidence, credible intervals. There's a difference with Bayesian statistics. You talk about credible intervals instead of just the intervals that we use in regular stats. They're basically similar. Posterior distributions and the prior distributions. If you can see here, let me try to make this bigger. You can see here. So you can see in green, you can see here that there's a flat area here. That's the prior distribution that we use for that. But because we're so far from what we initially thought, it's flat. So there wasn't any probability of those values, but the data say those values were more credible. So it decided to go there. In the support activity, you can see 3 lines here. That's the data that Plum used for the support activity that you can also see here. The posterior distribution and the prior in green. So you can see it's not flat, but it's very low, which means that Plum basically refined the information with the data we had. And you can see there's no steps or anything crazy going on here. So we can sort of see that this run, it's valid. Okay, so again, if you see a publication where this randomness go here and then drops or goes up or something like that, that run didn't work and it shouldn't be published. And so double check that all the time. There's a question. That's because you haven't used the library rPlum function. You need to sort of call it in.
Something like that, Marco?
Yeah, that one. Perfect. So now we want to run this sim0, which is simulation data that I created for these workshops. So you guys can see the data right here. Let me try to open it. Hopefully it works this time. Yes. Okay, tabs. We don't want tabs. There you go. So you will see this data. Again, the ID, the lower depth, density, concentration of lead, the uncertainty, the thickness of the sample, oops. And in this case, radon data, okay? We can add the information. Let's say we core that 2020, again, the middle of the year. We don't want to use any of the tail of the regular data here. We don't want to use any of these data. We want to use all the data for the chronology. So that's a 0 here. And because there's radium here, we want to use different values for the supported at each depth. So we're gonna go with 2 here. So that's how you input that information column. So that's the coring date, how many samples from the tail you want, and the tail of this column, and which supported model you want, either the constant or the variable one. Okay.
Is that the same for all rPlum files, Marco?
That should be the same for all files.
Okay, yeah.
So now that we have the core, we're gonna run that. All the information was there, so it didn't require to do anything. So it's just asking us if we want to run it with 31 sections, which we're gonna say yes. And it will run. Yeah, need to, if you guys need to install Incal, you can do that with this command right here. Give me a second. There you go. 30 seconds. You might need to update your rCPP. Just try to update Bacon basically, and it will download rCPP for you. Oh, perfect. This is a beautiful sample. So sometimes you're gonna get this. Basically, the MCMC didn't work. So how you fix that? You just run it again, right?
Oh, so if the little iteration graph is missing on the left-hand side, then it means it didn't work.
Yeah, sometimes because these methods are based on Monte Carlo, Markov chain Monte Carlo method. Sometimes they change to never converge, just because probably the initial points were too far away from something. It's just numerical errors, basically. There's nothing to worry about, so you just need to rerun it.
Mm-hmm.
So if the error persists, maybe we are doing something wrong with the data. But in this case, I would say that shouldn't be a problem. Maybe the only problem that we have here is that we have too many samples that probably already are support the activity. Let me show you, which might be causing a numerical error. Sometimes that happens. But in real course, this shouldn't be happening, because sometimes as soon as we reach background, we store sampling. So as you can see, the support activity is around 15, and that's achieved around here. So we have 2, 4, 6 samples which are already basically just supported activity. Sometimes if we go that far, it will give us numerical errors just because it's trying to feed a model where there's no more information. But that's quite rare because sometimes we never reach that far in the curve. Let's see if it didn't work. And if it didn't work, I'll show you how to fix that.
Marco, can you show me again where you found the information about the year that the core was taken, or the year that the measurements were made? I can't find that in my.
Oh, that's I knew that.
Oh, you knew that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
so
that's
we don't have that information.
I just used these last years basically, but these cores are simulations. So basically you can put any year you
Put
want.
anything, okay.
Yeah. Just because these things are simulations. For a core you did take, you need to put the coring date.
Okay.
The day you the core, yeah. Right? So as you see, there wasn't a problem this time. Now you see the graph is different. Let me show you. So the graph is different now because we have variable supported activities. So instead of having just one distribution, we actually have several. So that red line represents how the superactivity vary throughout the core. And the little shadows, it's growing again, represents the intervals. So the darker it is, the more probable the support activity is there. And you can see the nice chronology there and the data that was used for support activity. Okay. So let's try now simulation 2. Simulation 2 is basically the same. Just the difference is we don't have a proxy for the support activity. So what we're gonna do is actually use the last 6 samples. So these 6 as support activity measurements. If you can see, this one is actually quite close to the support activity. You could actually use 7 if you want, but I feel leaving one in just sometimes helps the model. But you can play with that. Plum shouldn't have a problem with that. Now, this is important. If we don't put anything in the column, in that column, if we just put the coring date, actually, let's remove the coring date. Because let me show you what happens when you don't put that information in. Let's close this so it doesn't have a problem. First, it's asking us when we sample the core.
Mm-hmm.
Give it the date that we core it. And now it does a pre-analysis of guessing how many supported samples from the tail it should be using. It's telling us that it thinks the best estimate will be getting from 4 data points. So let me show you how that works really quickly. Because this is, again, this is just a pre-analysis, and you guys should double check your data. Don't take that value and just run with it. We actually need to check if it makes sense, and I'll show you why in a minute. So this is the data, basically. What Plum does is actually creates a linear regression with the data from the tail. So it first takes 3 points, and it creates a linear regression. Then it goes to the 4th, and then it compares the linear regression with 3 points with the one with 4 points, and checks if the slope is significant, right? So if we use all of this, it will give us a line roughly like that. That line, let me make an annotation here just to show the line. So that line will have a significant slope. But as we remove data points, let's say I use from this point on, then I use this one, and then all of those, the line would actually start looking more and more like a flat line. So what Plum does is actually check which one will be the flattest line, right? And that it will take those points as, oh, there's not a slope anymore, so this should be supported activity, right? This is not the best method to do it, but I haven't seen in the literature objective method of actually estimating how many data points should we be using for support activity. And this is the best I could come out while I was doing my PhD. So if anybody has a much better way, you can let me know, and we can actually maybe implement it into Plum. So let me clear this thing. There you go. Let's remove the graph.
There's a question in the chat, Marco, about explaining the purpose of selecting the last few samples from the supported activity? Why
Well,
do
we
you do
need,
that?
because we need an estimate, data estimates for the support activity. So if you guys don't have a proxy that only measures support activity, we need to take it from the deepest part of the sample. And the way, and again, if we reach background, we should have a constant level of support activity. And that's why we use this method. At least in rPlum, we use this method, right? Oh, you didn't get that? Because I'm pretty sure you guys had information here. If you already had like, let me show you. Let's say I wanted those 4 points. I agree to run it. It's running. Let me reopen this so you guys see what happens. Sorry, the computer's a bit slow. There you go. Now we have information on that column. So all the information we provided rPlum in the console, it will put it here. And I'll show you why it puts it there once this is finished. If all that information is in that file, it will not ask you questions anymore. So you can actually put it by hand and rPlum won't ask you anything. But if rPlum doesn't see that information in the file, it will ask you the information and then put it in there. So next time you run your core, you run with exactly the same settings. So it's just for replicability. If you guys wanted to run the core a couple of times until you get a good one, it will sort of remembers what the options were. See? Okay, yeah, these sessions are going to be a bit slow because of that. We're almost finished with these examples. So it's running. You can see the samples here, 4 of them. We decided to use 4. And that's a chronology. So now let's go to the file really quickly, just to show you this. So what happens if we, instead of putting 4, we actually say 6, which was the initial value we had at the beginning. And we rerun that. There's no other options there, as you can see. There's no questions anymore because it's reading everything from the file. And you can run it again. Okay. Now, how do we change settings? Sometimes we do need to change some settings in order to make sense of some cores. Maybe we are in a core that has much higher sediment accumulation or much more slower, and the prior distributions that we had don't really match and actually make everything worse. Sometimes that happens. This one is going to take a couple of seconds. Give me a minute.
Marco,
Yes.
before we move on to that, I know there's a few people out there, they've contacted me through the chat and said that they're still having trouble with the installation. So yeah, maybe we could take a break for 10 minutes and then come back and do the breakout rooms so people can troubleshoot their, you know, like trying to just getting rPlum to run for them. And then maybe we could move on to the kind of you know, changing the priors and things like that after that. Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good. So let's take say 10 minutes of break.
10-minute break, yeah, and then we'll come back and we'll do the little breakout rooms for a few minutes just so people can discuss any problems that they're having, and then we can try and get everyone sorted out, and then come back and we can get into running through the rest of your script.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right. So we'll see everyone back in 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
Go and grab yourself a nice cuppa.
So Simon, are you thinking that we're going to install it in the breakout room? I still can't. I missed there were 2 crucial steps in the installation, so I still haven't got it running.
Yeah,
so,
there's a few people that are having trouble with running it. So I think the idea is that we'll get into the breakout rooms. We'll be able to discuss it in small groups and then come back together as a big group and see if there are common issues that we can sort out. If it's just one person has got one problem, it may be something to do with their version of R. But if it's quite a few people having the same problem, then it's probably something we need to solve as a group. Does that make sense?
Where was the? I'm just confused as to where the rPlum master, which had to be renamed. So let's just forget about the renaming just at the moment. But where that folder is meant to sit?
Should be in your downloads folder.
It is in my downloads folder, and then where does it go? Oh, it just stays there.
When you extract it, it asks you where you want it to extract, and usually it will extract it right there. And so the second folder, that same folder should be there as well. If you want, you can share your screen when we come back, and we'll check.
So it doesn't go. So it doesn't go where. Yeah. All right. I thought you would move it out of the downloads to somewhere else to run it.
Maybe Marco can explain that after the break, Janelle, and in the breakout room.
Something
we'll make sure that it comes to you.
People are away. Just really quickly is maybe people can mention if they have rPlum installed and running, just to see how many people already have it installed, and maybe who can help other people.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah. Because there's potentially other people with the same problem, Janelle. So
because the old version of rPlum, which I've now removed, was like I installed. I don't know if it ran properly, but I had that installed, and now I've gone through this process this morning of removing that and then trying to get this one off the GitHub running, and now I've got nothing.
Well, just run the old one then.
But I've uninstalled it. But so reinstall that one. But that's the one with the bugs in it.
Yeah, you can install that with install.packages rPlum.
Exactly, which seemed a lot easier, but I don't know where, so I don't know what I'm doing with this folder, that's all.
Yeah, we'll sort it out after the break, Janelle.
Yep.
All right, we'll see you back in 10 minutes or maybe 7.
Okay. Just really quickly, I am checking the GitHub version just for people who just don't want to go through the hassle that we were going through. And the GitHub version appears to be working okay, but again, it's preferable if we use the GitHub version. But if people just can't get that, the GitHub version appears to be working okay now. So we can, like, let's try to get people's problem solved. But if worse comes to worse, we'll use the CRAN version, the version that is on the CRAN repository.
So,
yeah.
so you think it's better if people go back up in the R code and go use the install GitHub version? Yeah, is that?
No, I'm saying, yeah, if we can get the GitHub version running, it's perfect, because that's the latest version and everything. And once you have it working, you can just update it, and it will update
automatically. Yeah.
No, not really, but you just need a command that says update GitHub, and it will do it. But if it doesn't work, we can use the CRAN version, just the version that you can get from install packages. Okay, so yeah, let's do
Thanks, Kelsey.
Okay, hopefully we all come back. I'm
Yeah.
just downloading a new version of R, which apparently is the thing you need to do all the time to solve all problems, but we'll see. So I'll just do that for a while and then redo all of this with some help later.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope you get across it.
I just didn't know
I've done the same thing, downloaded the new version of R, but now I'm completely lost about where my files are actually meant to be.
Oh god.
As in the
Oh, so yeah, I think that's something maybe Marco didn't explain, was that where your files are. Mine are in, when I go to R and then find the package rPlum, and then there's this folder called data, external data, that everything's kind of hiding in there. But that might be different on different platforms. I'm not sure. Marco might know. People are worried about where they find their data.
Is that when you're in R or R Studio? Are you working from the R Studio console? Or?
Oh, where you can put the data, or where you can, what data are you talking about?
Yeah, so Janelle was saying, well, Janelle can speak for herself, but you were saying where, actually finding where you've got the data, is it, Janelle?
Yeah, so now that we've reinstalled R and done all these other things, now I'm lost as to where my those folders actually should be sitting.
Okay, those folders should be sitting on your, either your documents folder or the folder before that, which is the folder with your name, username.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, for Mac it's on the username, and I think for Windows it's on the documents.
So it's currently still in download, so I've just got to move it. I've got to move it from the downloads area to that area when I extract it from the zip file. Don't worry, I'll look at the video later.
No. Oh, hang on. I'll put the one. I'll put my link in the chat, just so people can see what maybe. I mean, this isn't going to work for you, but this is where mine is.
Oh,
so
yeah,
if you're trying to ferret around in your computer and find where it is, that's where mine is, and yours might be something vaguely like that.
Huh.
I think that's sort of where all of my packages go, into that folder. But this time when I tried to do it, I think because I'm using an older version, it kept saying we're actually putting it in this temporary folder in app data that I couldn't find. And so I think this will fix it. But yeah, and then that seems to be where I have mine too.
I have a question. Why do you guys need this folder?
Well, isn't that how you access the data that you're running?
No, that's the data that I was running for these examples is in the share folder that Larissa or Simon put online. There was a folder where you guys can find the presentation and the code.
And it's called cause or something, isn't it? Is this what
yeah, exactly. So that one, you will put it in your documents folder, and it should be called Plum runs. Plum_runs. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And you can just put those data files into that folder and it should run. Maybe if someone besides me show their screen and I'll show them where the files are and where to put them, that will clarify many questions. So somebody wants to volunteer?
I'm happy to volunteer if you need someone, because I've just reinstalled R, the 4.1 version, and I don't know if mine's organized. I'm just trying to load like install packages rPlum now.
Okay.
So I can share and see what's if you can tell me what's happening, if it's doing the right thing. It's just loading the stuff now. We'll
yeah,
see.
I think that'll be easier.
Okay. Can everyone see my RStudio?
Yeah,
Is it a bit small? Because it's my whole screen. But
perfect. Yeah, no, that's really good. Okay. So which
I've
command?
so this happened to me before. I did the remove everything just in case. Then I installed packages rPlum, and that's just what has come up here.
Yep, that's good.
But then it does this thing where it puts it here, or it seems like it has. But I haven't tried the library yet. Should I just go to the library?
Yeah, go to library.
Sorry. Oh, God. Every other time it has told me that it didn't exist.
There you go.
Thank you. Of course, the one time I share my screen, it works fine, but that's awesome. Do I need to do DevTools or any of that stuff, or is it okay now?
Don't worry about it for now. That's, if you want to do it for later, that'll be fine. But if you can go down.
Yeah, do you mean just go?
Yeah. There you go. So try to run Plum
This one?
down. Yeah.
It might not be in the same place as my, I don't think it's in the same place.
Yeah. Okay. So do you see something that it's saying reading? C double dot blah blah blah. That's where your runs Plum folder is, and that's where you can put all your files.
Yeah. Cool.
So people can just run that command and check where it's putting all your cores.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, in your case will be in your OneDrive.
Yeah,
and
I've set it up so that they go there. That's where my project is based.
Perfect. So yeah, so all the cores that I share with you, you can just put into that folder.
So just for everyone else who's doing this, how do you check where it's going? So is it just doing that plum bcad equals t just to see if where you are, or is there a different command you put in to see?
So go into the console and click Ctrl+C.
Wait, into, oh, this one, right? Sorry.
Yep.
Control-C.
Oh, Alt-C maybe? No.
Oh, it's still running the script.
Yeah. Okay, wait, I can stop it, I think.
Just say no.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah, go down there, say no. That will stop everything. So type in get WD.
At WD? Oh, like ATWD?
Get, like literally
the
get. WD, open and close parentheses, yeah. Enter. And that's the folder your R is set at. So on that folder, you will find the Plum runs folder. So for people who want to see where they have to put your course, you can set that command. And within that folder, it will be a folder called Plum runs. And if it's not there, you need to make it. You need to make a folder called run plums, and that's where you're gonna put all your course. You don't need to go to the other, what's the name? The other folders. That's where you guys need to put them.
Yeah, so it's in here with the Plum runs. Oh, so mine has two. Is that, did it make a new folder?
You probably move one step up or something, and he tried to make another one.
Okay. Oh, well, that's all right. I'll figure out that. Okay. So I might stop sharing then if that's okay.
Yep.
And yeah, thanks, Marco. That was very helpful.
You're welcome. Okay, anyone else having trouble where to put the course and anything?
There's one question from Callum in the chat, Marco, about versions of R.
Yeah, I mentioned that as long as you're above 4, that you should be okay. I'm using version 4.1 right now, but as long as you're above 4, you should be okay. I mean, it's recommended that you update on a regular basis anyway. Yeah, last version was released on May. So that's not that long ago. So if you guys want to update, that's okay. But as long as you're above 4, you should be okay.
So we've only got about 10 minutes left, Marco. So do we want to continue on with the script, or do you want to talk about how we might prepare data for our own cores if we run those?
Yeah, so first of all, you guys need to, well, we need to check that with the administration rights that people were having trouble with. But this is where I wanted to get. So here's a core that Larissa sent me. Here you go. So I've shown these sort of files before. So when you get your report from your lab, you need to get the lower depth, the density, and the activities, and as well the thickness of the sample. If you don't get the thickness of the sample, you can calculate it from bottom depth minus top depth. I wanted to show, I think it's this one. Let me see. No, I need to, it's probably not here. I'll look it up and show you next time. I wasn't, or when, well, we didn't reach that far, but whenever you guys want to add radiocarbon dates, you need to add another file. I think I mentioned this with a different name on the same folder. So this is a Bacon file, but I just put the for C, just to tell Plum that file is there. Currently, there's a bug with the reservoir effect function in Plum, so you guys will need to remove this if you had it.
Sorry, Marco, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, probably. There you go. I was trying to show. There you go. Is that working?
Oh, you might have to repeat that a bit for us. We've got a bit lost there.
So let's try this one for.
So this is one of the files Larissa sent?
Yep, I think you will recognize it. Is it working?
So yeah, this is a core from Macquarie Island that Christina has kindly shared the information with me.
Oh, nice.
Christina, are you there?
She might have gone,
Yep,
I think.
I'm here.
There you go.
So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about the core? So just that kind of like we know that there's a reservoir effect and whatever information you think is useful.
Yeah, so it looks like there is well, we've dated the surface with radiocarbon and it came out at modern, but then it looks like there's some sort of reservoir effect going down the core, but it's not obvious why. I mean, it's from a place where there's no limestone, it's basalt, so it's not really, yeah, we can't explain it basically, that we've got this reservoir effect and it doesn't appear to be stable throughout the core. So we got a radiocarbon date within the lead-210 zone that was about 500 years.
Should be this one?
Yeah, that one.
Well, this one also, right? 0.5 centimeters?
Yeah.
Okay. And they don't agree, I'm guessing.
Not with the lead, no.
Okay, so this is a good example that we can check for rPlum next session. But anyway, I wanted to show the structure of the file. So if you see, you have to make a folder with the name of the core. Just the same as Bacon, you will need to put the name of the core in the file as well. And for your radiocarbon file, just add a C or some marker that would tell you that's the radiocarbon data. For this version of Plum, it's not working right with ReserViFX, so we will need to remove this to run it. But I'll show you later how to run this in PyPlum, and it will correct for ReserViFX. What else? The settings. Oh, again, because Plum uses the surface date as the way to fix the LED dating, you don't need to put your surface date on the Bacon file. This will be equivalent to 2019, I guess, I think.
2010.
Oh, there you go, 2010, sorry. So you will put 2010 here and remove this surface date from here. And that should run on Plum, and we can run this the next session because there won't be any time for it in the next couple of minutes. We can guess that these last 2 points are support the activity that will reach background. So either we can tell Plum to use 1 or 2 data points from the tail. So either this one or both of them. And that's how you set this file. You save that, and then we could run it, but there won't be time to get the results. So we can do that next time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
no
basically
worries.
how these 2 files should look like.
Yep.
We'll repeat that process next session. So yeah, I think for next session, everyone should have at least installed the packages and R and RStudio if you guys desire. Double check that you have rPlum installed. So when you do the library rPlum, you shouldn't get any errors. So you should be able to do that and not get no errors. I think we should leave it at that for now. I don't think there's anything else now.
Marco,
Yes.
may I just ask, so in the lecture 10 file, you put the lower depth of your sample, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And in the radiocarbons, the same thing?
Well, radiocarbon, you should have 1 depth measure, isn't it? So if you're using bulk, in that one, it will be the middle point that you will need.
Ah, you're using the middle point, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Bacon file should stay the same as you always have used them. Nothing changed in the Bacon file. In the LED part, we use the bottom depth. Just because of the way I explained the maths in the first session, is that because we're checking the H at the bottom and at the top, so we need the lower depth and the thickness. That's why we need these 2 data points, because it's going to use the information on how thick you use your sample in order to make the chronology. Okay.
How do you add on
Yeah,
data from other places? Just a quick question. Like when you add in your cesium 137 data or things like that.
Cesium, you will add it here as a date, and you will tell it that not to calibrate it. So use CC as 0.
Okay, perfect.
Any other dating that is not LED should be in that other file. Okay, that's why we have 2 files. So one for the LED information, which is the raw activities, and one with all the other dating methods that you have, which have the same format as Bacon.
Right, perfect.
Yeah, so if you have a tephra, then you would put that in the radiocarbon folder, is that right? If you know the age of the tephra.
Yeah, you will add it here. So we call this maybe wrongly a bacon file or something like that, but it's just a file where you're gonna dump all your other dates that are not let.
Ah, okay. Dumping file then.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much, Marco. It's really great that we've made a lot of progress today. I'm sorry about the installation issues that people had, but hopefully before the next workshop we can iron out some of those things. I've put my email there in the chat, so if anyone wants to hit me up with questions, I'm happy to answer them in the meantime. And yeah, we're looking forward to running some things a bit more smoothly in the next session. So thanks everyone for your patience today, and thanks Marco for guiding us through the troubled waters of different R versions and packages and so on.
That's okay. Okay, I'll see you next Monday for me, and Tuesday I think for you guys. So
excellent.
Okay.
Thanks again, Marco.
Thank you, Marco.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye.